I'm Richard Clarke. Ramana Maharshi's teachings are deep and profound. Listen each day to deepen your practice. Welcome. I'm reviewing and commenting on the book Talks with Sri Ramana Maharshi. Today is from Talk 502, Part 3. Questioner. Difficulties are met with. How is one to get the strength necessary to overcome the obstacles which beset one's path? Maharshi, by means of devotion and company of the sages. Questioner, loss of individuality was just before mentioned as a prerequisite to moksha. Now, devotion and association with the wise are advised as the methods. Is there not individuality implied in them? That is, in I am a bhakta, I am a satsangi? Maharshi, the method is pointed out to the seeker. The seeker has certainly not lost his individuality so far. Otherwise, the question would not have arisen. The way is shown to affect the loss of individuality of the seeker. It is thus appropriate. In this dialogue, the questioner is asking how to gain the strength needed to face life's difficulties, particularly on the spiritual path. Sri Ramana Maharshi responds by recommending two practices, devotion, bhakti, and keeping company with sages. These methods offer support and guidance for overcoming obstacles, suggesting that aligning yourself with a higher power and associating with enlightened beings provides strength and clarity. Devotion is the recognition of a power greater than your ego. Satsang is association with a sage who tells you that this power is not to be found outside, it is within yourself. Seek within. If a sage is not available, then get his guidance through reading, reflecting, and deeply meditating on books, and now with YouTube videos. The questioner then asks for clarification, pointing out that Ramana previously mentioned losing one's individuality as a requirement to reaching liberation, moksha. The questioner wonders if there's a contradiction in Ramana's advice. Identifying as a devotee, bhakti, or as someone who attends gathering of wise people, satsangi, seems to reinforce the idea of individuality. Doesn't this contradict the teaching of losing the ego and individuality to attain freedom? Ramana clarifies that the seekers have not yet completely dissolved their individuality. The fact that the questioner is asking about methods means that they still experience themselves as a separate individual, and that is normal at this stage. The recommended practices like devotion and being in the company of sages are meant for someone who has not fully realized the self. These practices guide the seeker towards the eventual loss of the ego and sense of individuality, which is necessary for attaining moksha. Ramana's teaching here is practical. He acknowledges that the seeker still feels a sense of ego self and needs methods to progress. The key point is that devotion and seeking the company of the wise are not ends in themselves. They are stepping stones on the path to the dissolution of the ego. Once the ego is dissolved, there is no longer a doer or an individual who can claim to be a devotee or a satsangi. This dialogue highlights an important aspect of Ramana Maharshi's teaching. The journey towards self-realization involves different stages. In the beginning, the seeker operates from the sense of being an individual. The practices of devotion and associating with sages are suited to this stage because they help weaken the ego's hold. Ultimately, these practices lead to the final dissolution of individuality, allowing you to directly know and realize the true nature of the self. So know yourself and be always free and at peace. In 40 verses on reality, Ramana Maharshi explains the nature of the self, the ultimate reality, and self-inquiry. My new book, with my comments and inquiry questions, opens these teachings up and brings them into your practice and experience. Available now from Amazon. Link in the video description. These videos bring Ramana's teachings into your direct experience. Click subscribe to see more. Click thumbs up to like, and send questions and start a dialogue with a comment.